Hey, what's up? Welcome to this week's edition of 5 Minutes of Management. I'm Frank Kalman here with Rick Bell. Rick, it's the springtime, so that means Workforce Live, spring season. We're coming to Boston April 14th, New York City April 19th, and Washington, D.C. April 28th. So if you're in those cities or have colleagues or friends in those cities, tell them to get their tickets today because they're selling pretty quickly. So I'll be there, and there'll be bacon. That's pretty much all you need. And we'll have some smart HR people giving some provocative presentations as well. So, Rick, interesting stat from the BLS this week. Just 24.9% of Americans spent time as volunteers in 2015. That is a smaller proportion than in any other year in the last decade. What's the beef? What's going on here?
Well, to me, because organizations like to promote Volunteer Day in the office, and that's become kind of a retention tool and something to attract people, especially millennials, because they want to give back to the community, and a great way to do that is through these volunteer days and through volunteer programs, whether you're helping Habitat for Humanity or American Cancer Society or whoever. You go out and do a 5K or to help support the organization. So the surprise is that volunteerism overall is dropping. I would have thought it would have registered higher.
I would too. You're seeing a lot of companies promote corporate social responsibility as a major part of what they're doing nowadays. You're seeing young people take a keen interest in volunteering. This is a little surprising, but according to the BLS, to be sure, recent levels are quite a bit lower than the 28.8% rate from 2003 to 2005. So that 24.9% is a lot lower than earlier in the early 2000s, but isn't terribly lower. So.
Well, and you have to wonder because obviously the recession came into play at some point, and it's just like, what factor did that have with people being out of work, and then once you get back into the workforce, do things like volunteering fall by the wayside?
That's a good point. What else we got?
Thanks. Was it bacon?
Bacon?
You have bacon there? Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of bacon.
I'm there.
Breakfast potatoes.
Oh man.
It's a good eating
Fruit?
event. Yeah.
Nice.
Hopefully.
Oh man, fruit. So Frank, so Tinder, one of our favorite organizations, has released its list of the top 15 most right-swiped jobs for men and women. So they recently introduced a feature that you can show that allows you to feed Facebook information into your Tinder profile, which includes your profession. So Tinder captured data, which of course that's what it's all about, is data on what professions resulted in the most right swipes. Do you think a journalist got a left swipe or a right swipe?
Which one's good again, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
We got a left swipe. Yeah, well, I think you're right, because of the top 5 for men, a pilot, and now these are the male professions that are most selected. A pilot, a founder and entrepreneur, a firefighter,
wow.
Of course, and doctors and TV radio personalities were the most chosen.
Well, that's good news for us.
Well, we're kind of
What
there.
about internet personalities?
Well, I know, and it's just like we kind of are TV personalities here. Maybe, sort of. Anyway, so for women, it's physical therapist, interior designer, founder, entrepreneur, PR communications, and teacher. So it's like, yay, teachers. That's good for them.
Good for them for cracking the Tinder research profile.
Exactly.
So, Rick, at this point, many of our viewers have heard about this issue with Yelp. One of its employees, what was her screen name again?
Oh, Lady Murderface?
Lady Murderface. Okay,
nice.
25-year-old employee working, I believe, in one of Yelp's subsidiaries that delivers food, a call center?
Yeah, a call center. Yes, it was a call center.
Wrote the CEO basically criticizing the company's pay practices, saying that she wasn't able to afford her own groceries, so on and so forth. At any rate, the letter ultimately got her fired, which of course has ignited a little bit of a firestorm over the internet and the HR world. What's your take?
Well, I mean, it's Yelp. I mean, come on, we can't offer our opinions. Isn't that what Yelp is all about, is offering your opinions? Okay, now that's just me from the personal side. But I think from the professional side, when you're hiring people, you let them know, you better be letting them know early on, if not during the interview process, during the onboarding process, what their salary is going to be. So you go into the profession, you go into this position knowing how much you're going to make. And granted, that's a pittance. It's like you cannot support yourself, let alone a family, on that kind of money. And so, which brings us, which could potentially lead into a living wage discussion, but we're not going to get into that. That's for a future 5 minutes of management. So that's, yeah. So I feel like you know what your salary is going in. If you want to make a stink about it online, you go right ahead. But basically, you're potentially setting yourself up for retribution.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say both sides have a little bit of fault here. I'm gonna say, shame on anyone who thinks taking a $25,000 a year job in the Bay Area is a good idea. I mean, given that San Francisco and the surrounding area is likely, the tightest job market right now, and also the most expensive place to live in the U.S. Anyone who thinks that they're going to be able to, get by, on that sort of pay in that city is probably confusing themselves a little bit. But also, shame on Yelp for, as Chris Dunn pointed out, workforce columnist, also writes an HR Capitalist blog, shame on Yelp for not doing proper workforce planning. And maybe instead of deciding to employ your call center in the Bay Area, maybe you put that in Detroit or another inner city that has a looser labor market that needs to pick up the slack, and you might be able to get away paying those sort of workers better in those environments. So I think there's both. The fact that she got fired because of the letter, considering this is Yelp, is a little bit disturbing. But I mean, I think when you publicly complain about your company and you put your name to it, I think you leave yourself open to that sort of threat. And I think it's also a little tone deaf. And again, Chris Dunn kind of alluded to this, to write a letter like that and put your name to it and expect employers to want to hire you again. So yeah. I would say shame on both parties, but definitely an interesting story to follow for us in the HR world.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's all we've got for this week's edition of 5 Minutes of Management. For Rick Bell, I'm Frank Kalman. We'll see you guys next week.
Bacon.
Bacon.